Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Bleeding Metal podcast. My name is Pia, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm here with my lovely co-host,
Kiki. Hello everyone, my pronouns are also she, her, and I'm so happy to bring you another longer episode back to our kind of usual business.
Yes, but I really enjoyed the interviews that you did, and of course also the Tuska recap was really cool.
Yes, that was a very long one, which is why we made it a two-parter. But the short interviews have been a lot of fun. We are bringing back our YouTube channel with video interviews. So don't forget to look for the Bleeding Metal podcast on YouTube and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the cool artists that we are meeting in person while they're on tour or on festival. We have some more of those in the pipeline. Yeah.
Nice. Today we want to talk about symbols in heavy metal and how they are about to provoke people. Because I thought about also the whole connection of metal and Satanism and how, especially in the early days, metal bands or the whole metal community also used specific symbols to provoke the general society, you could say.
The mainstream, yeah.
The mainstream, like, for example, the upside down cross or also the pentagram and all these anti-church stuff. There's also the band called Bad Religion with a cross that is crossed out.
Yes, I love Bad Religion.
Yes. And when I thought about that, I came to the conclusion that metal bands don't really do this anymore. Maybe some of the older bands, maybe some of the black metal bands that use these images, but I think you can't shock people anymore with these kind of symbols. What do you think?
I think there is a lot of history to what you were just saying. There was a whole genre built around shocking people. The good old shock rock with Alice Cooper, and later, of course, other acts as well, some of which we don't want to talk about, or at least not mention directly. But yeah, I think it was, as always, art develops it doesn't develop in a vacuum, it develops in a society, it develops out of the necessity. In this case, the necessity to rebel, to break the molds, to just show people other side of humanity than the one that was, everywhere in movies, on TV, and etc. And some of that also, modeled as an example, as a role model by even the governments and other structures, right? So I think it was very necessary. Nowadays, honestly, we're recording this on September 5th, 2024. And I just listened to a news podcast, and I just listened about the latest school shooting in the US, which is obviously very tragic and very sad. But I was also sad to realize how little it shocks me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is reality. In terms of reality is terrible right now. The world is burning. It shocks us so little because we see it so much.
Mm-hmm.
We see it all the time. We have constant news in our hands, on our phones, and it's just really difficult, maybe, to shock people, or much less to shock the mainstream. You could also ask what even is the mainstream. And I also don't know if shocking is a good goal to have, even as an artist necessarily. But yeah, there are still many things out there that should shock us and scare us as a motivator to do better, to make this planet a better place.
Yes, I totally agree. And especially here in Germany, the right-winged parties are rising, and people more and more feel safe with specific symbols, with which they want to also provoke. But
Right.
in another way, the people feel more and more safe to not wear the swastika, but other symbols or sentences or whatever that show that they are supporters of these racist parties and of these thoughts also. And that also made me think about the whole thing. What is also art allowed to do? And for me, art always was there to support the people who don't have that much money, privilege, status, whatever. So to quote unquote punch above and not kick the people below. And what happens here with the racist symbols, or also with some other symbols that we're going to talk about later, is kicking the people who already are below you. And that's, for me, not what art is supposed to do. Art is there to support people and not to punish people or restrict them or to show them you're not welcome here or something like that. So art should be there for the people and not used against them.
I mean, I think it depends on where this art comes from, right? We have artists that affiliate to all of the different political lines or throughout the whole political spectrum. So, yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, of course, the whole thing is difficult. But also, when we look back to what metal did in the early days with not standing up against religion, but having kind of rebellion against religion, and what this religion is very male dominated. They also have a lot of restrictions for people. They want a specific society, and if you don't fit in this society, you're maybe not their enemy, but they don't like you that much. And they will tell their people to maybe not talk to you, not give you a good job, not pay you very well and everything. So they contain, or they say, we know what the truth is, what is good for the people, what reality should look like, what society should look like. And what metal bands did in the early days with this rebellion was showing, well, we don't agree with that. You could say it was also kind of a war against the patriarchy, because I see especially the Christian church as that really profits from patriarchy and also has this structure, this patriarchal structure within. And if art says we are against that and we support also people who are gay, who are lesbian and everything. So that is what art should do for me. And that is what I can support, and not what happens with other symbols and art that this is oppressed.
Yeah, the people who are also being persecuted and who are fighting for their freedom, for their human rights, all of the marginalized communities, those are the groups and the communities that actually need the support and that actually need louder voices. And louder voices amplifying their causes. And that is absolutely, I'm there with you. That is, for me, yes, also the purpose of making art.
And that's also what one of our listeners sent to us, because we asked our community, which symbols do you feel, or which symbols provoke you personally? She said that unfortunately Nordic symbology, because it often comes with a certain kind of mindset. And that also goes in the direction what we were just talking about, that I don't want to say that pagan metal bands, black metal bands are by default at least sympathizing with the racist ideology, but I can also understand that you question the mindset of a person who wears this, because they are also used by Nazis and other people the whole Nordic mythology for their advantage. So I can understand that it gives you mixed feelings when you see someone wearing that. But as I said, it doesn't automatically mean that that person is also voting for right-wing parties and stuff like that.
Right. I think there are many layers to that specific case, because two sides. The lighter side, or the easier side, I think not all of us are conscious consumers. Not all of us actually think about what we're buying, who made it, what is the real price. You and I used to have these talks a while ago about fashion and fast fashion. If it costs so little, who's paying the actual price? I don't think a lot of people actually ask themselves those questions when buying things, especially in the metal community. I don't think there's that conscience around merch.
And also, if I may interrupt you here, what I also said in a previous episode, maybe you are so privileged that you don't know it could hurt other people, or it makes other people uncomfortable because you don't see the problem, which is not your fault. But if you don't see the problem, please get informed now.
Yeah, we are pointing out the problem to you. It would be good if you look a bit further and try to get informed. But yeah, and to that end, maybe, and remind me to a note on getting informed at the end of the episode, maybe. But yeah, so I think being a conscious consumer could change a lot of things, a lot of artwork, a lot of merch, and and banned merch and things with lots of symbols are out there, and not all of us always know what they mean. And so sometimes we even think, oh, this looks like a nice design, and we don't even really know the meaning of it and what is behind it, and could be wearing something offensive to marginalized communities, to specific marginalized communities, without even knowing it. So that is one thing. And the other thing is, it's specifically to what you were saying about pagan metal and pagan symbols. And that speaks a little to my witchy soul, because I grew up Catholic-ish. My household was half atheist, half Catholic, half what the fuck are we even doing with our lives? And maybe there's some spirituality in there, which I picked up on. And I was always interested in witches and medieval history and pagan religions. And the symbolism behind pagan religions is very related to nature, and everything that that Christianism misinterpreted as the devil was just fear mongering and wanting to impose their beliefs. And so even the imagery of goat-like being, a humanized goat-like being, was actually the god of the forest. And that kind of stuff. And I actually love those religions because they teach you to respect nature and to love nature and to just be in flow with nature. The whole Halloween thing and honoring the dead in October is actually because, well, everything dies in autumn up here. I mean, in the parts of the world where 4 seasons are usual, not like in Ecuador where I come from, but yeah, honoring the dying of nature and the dying of our loved ones and stuff like that. So using that imagery to then discriminate other humans, and even that, to discriminate them for their religious beliefs in the past, and now discriminate them in other ways, and changing the meaning of those symbols to make them xenophobic and racist and all of the isms is it hurts my soul. But also it's difficult then to know which meaning are they wearing this, or are they using it? Is this symbol, while it's used by a racist band, does the symbol also become racist or evil? And can I, do I then stop wearing it, or do I always wear it telling everyone I mean it like this and not like they think it does? It becomes even more complicated.
Yes, and we also can see here how Christianism always try to manipulate or to make it worse for the older religions. Also, I think the December 21st is a date that also witches celebrate because it's the shortest day.
It's Yule.
And yes, and wow, Jesus was born on December 24th. Now you cannot really celebrate Jule anymore because everybody is looking forward to Christmas on December 24th.
Yeah, I hate Christmas.
By chance. That was by chance. It was not intentional. No.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere once that there were like archaeological findings at some point. This might be an illusion. Maybe I'm making this up. But like that Jesus was actually born in like the human person that became this prophet was actually born in like February or something. But it was helpful to their narrative to cover up all of these other festivities that people were already having.
Yes. And funny side note, I read the other day that in a country, I think also in South America, the government postponed Christmas to somewhere in October. I don't know why. I forgot, but
that sounds like something Ecuador would do, but I don't think they did. Ecuador is funny about like holidays, like government holidays being moved to Fridays or Mondays so that people can have the whole weekend.
Yeah,
but they wouldn't do that with Christmas, I don't think. Yeah, but we're kind of drifting away. We're talking about the symbols that can be misused and worn and yeah.
Yeah, but still, maybe with that we can go over to what a listener sent us, because you need to think about what you show with that. So, of course, I can understand when you say, I want to express myself as a witch or as a spiritual person.
Or as a pagan person, or as a Satanist. Satanists are actually pretty interesting.
Yes.
Side note, yeah.
But on the other hand, is it worth the price that then other people pay because they might feel very uncomfortable when they see you? And that's also the case with the next example that we got from a listener. That is, what makes you feel uncomfortable or which symbols provoke you? And we got the answer: naked women on CDs or T-shirts of bands with only male band members.
Ugh, or music videos.
Yes, and that's the other thing, or that's also connected to what I said before. I can understand that you like that band, that you maybe like the album with the naked woman on the cover, but people might feel, or people will feel uncomfortable when you wear that shirt around them. And the question is, who do you want to provoke with that? You don't provoke the people who are on top. You provoke especially women, people who are not that privileged. So that's also this kicking down, kicking the people below you and not punching the people above you. And yeah, I think you have you have a lot of other thoughts on that, but that's also just showing I have power. We are more powerful than women. That's the impression that gives that to me, that I have when a band is using naked woman. If you're just having a naked woman on your shirt or your CD cover, why?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Could you just ask yourself why? Because the sex sells argument is so boring. And it's been done so many times, and we can get more creative than that.
Yes. You haven't won anything if people say, oh, that's a nice naked woman, and they don't read the name of your band and the album title at all because they concentrate on the picture only.
We had a conversation like this with Steffi last year. I think we were talking about when we see this, I also ask myself, was it enthusiastic consent as well? Was the woman actually thinking, hell yeah, I want to be looked at as a sexual object with this sexualized, yeah, which is absolutely in every people's good right. So is it an empowered naked posing, or is it, I don't know.
Did you just buy an image?
Yeah, or are they still being kind of forced or coerced into this? Or maybe they think it's necessary to advance in their career.
Yes.
We've seen all of that before.
Even if you don't ask yourself that, the next question is, which image do you want to have as a band? Do you want to be seen as the band with a naked woman on cover? I don't know.
Yeah.
What fans do you want to have? Do you want to have female fans at all? Are you focusing on the male audience only? Which message does that send to potential listeners?
Right. And honestly, I'm thinking if your target audience are older men, then maybe. I don't know how well that would do with Gen Z, for example. I don't think that works at all.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any band that I listen to that would do that nowadays. I've seen the power wolves of things with their, I will never forget, the image is branded in my head. I don't remember. Is it like the sexy nuns, quote unquote, or I don't even remember. But that's the last time I saw a music video with groups of women that had absolutely nothing to do with the band being sexualized on a music video. And it's like, ugh.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to listen to that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It absolutely is very repellent to me. But I must say, maybe older male generations are kind of still interested in the old sex sells thing. Or maybe other specific groups of mostly male parts of the audience. I'm not sure. Maybe the ones that also watch YouTube tutorials on how to supposedly date women. I don't know. But I think we've talked about this before, about the kind of weird vibes we sometimes got in specific concert audiences.
Mm-hmm.
I was just at a concert on Saturday. You have already, hopefully, you all out there have already listened to the interview that I did with yours truly, an alternative rock band from Sydney, Australia, played in Hamburg. The support act was Letter Sent Home. I think they are from Berlin, but don't quote me on that. They're from Germany for sure. And both of those have female members. I think Letter Sent Home even has non-binary members. I'm not sure. Also, good-looking young people. The audience was mostly young people. A lot of more alternative-looking, more non-binary-looking, more, I thought it was a very lovely representation there was very lovely representation of the LGBTQIA plus community. And then there were, I counted 3 creep old dudes. And I don't think they were like anyone's parent or anything.
But on the other hand, don't you want them in the audience if they really like the music?
I mean, yeah, I hope they were there for the music. That's what I mean.
Yes.
But it was like a weird vibe. But all in all, the concert was great. And I mean, they actually, like, they weren't doing anything weird. They were just standing in the audience in the concert. Yeah. It seemed a little out of place, but that's fine. Yeah, it was just something that stuck out to my eye.
And that is also kind of conclusion. We said in this episode that here in Germany and also around the globe, the right-wing parties are rising, unfortunately. And metal was always there to rebel, to provoke. And now that you're saying that there were, I now sum it up to rainbow people or very young people also at the concerts, maybe it'll have a comeback that the music has to stand up against politics or something like where punk rock came from.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think that is very necessary. It has always been. And my point, I remembered. The point that I wanted to make before, I think, as I was saying, the world is burning. We are bombarded with information all the time. It is exhausting. Sometimes it is exhausting to just survive in this type of world. And I know that it's difficult and it takes extra energy to make that extra step and get informed and get informed about what the political views are of the bands that we're supporting with our money, with our, going to their concerts, streaming their music, recommending them to other friends. I know it's difficult, and some of, at least the people around me, and me included, live in constant fear that our favorite bands will be assholes in terms of just having discriminatory behaviors of some sort, and that I will have to stop supporting them because I am that type of person. I can't fully separate the art from the artist. Yeah. And so all of that is a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy. So I am hearing more and more people that have just given up and are like, you know what? I like the music and I don't care. And that is fine to a degree. But sometimes it makes a huge difference. For example, in the cases of sexual abuse, it can be so hurtful for the survivors, for survivors of sexual abuse or violence, gender violence in general, to still see the symbols of perpetrators out there and to still see them performing and given chances and with so many people supporting them, forgetting and ignoring what has happened to them. So sometimes getting informed can be a little step that can have a huge positive impact on other people if it's not you wearing that shirt.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that also leads me to this thought why I said, well, let's talk about symbols, because we had a bit more than a year ago the case here in Germany with the very famous industrial band with a very famous symbol with an R and a cross. And I know they have many fans around the globe and especially in Germany. And I also know that the court has or let go of the case.
Drop the investigations. Yeah.
Yes. That we don't know what happened. Nobody can say, well, he is an abuser. I get it. And I also get that when people say, but I like the band, I want to keep listening to their music because it gives me power. It gives me, it helps me when I'm sad and whatever. Fine. And I would also say that if you have a tattoo of the band, which also many people have, I can also understand if you say, well, I don't want to cover that. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I also said before, you might send wrong messages with specific shirts and symbols on that shirt. And what I noticed in my own behavior or the impression of a person is that I see in public when they are wearing a shirt of that band, they do that intentionally. They woke up and thought, well, I'm going to wear that band shirt today. And they did not think about, or maybe they even thought about that, and that makes it even worse, that survivors of sexual violence will be triggered, even though we don't know what really happened. The symbol will always be connected to that whole case and will always be a trigger for survivors of sexual violence. Yeah. And that is why I really don't understand why people wear these shirts in public at all. When you're at a metal concert, it's the same. Why do you do that? And I would ask you, out of respect for the survivors, to stop doing that.
I was at Reload Festival 3 weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. And in comparison to Tuska, for example, two things stood out to me. And they are, of course, very different festivals in very different countries and etc. But two things stood out to me. How much people in Germany still smoke?
Yes.
But also how many people were wearing their t-shirts. Women. How many women were wearing the t-shirts of with the logo of a band that is very strongly entwined with sexual violence against women?
Yes.
And yeah, I was shocked. And it did make me think like, okay, some people are still nostalgic for the music back then, before the allegations came out, but
yes.
However new the allegations are, he was probably doing that all the time. before that. So it's just something to think about. If you have some empathy for the people who suffered through that, for the people who saw the bruises in their body and didn't really remember what happened even because they were drugged and mistreated and all of the horrible pain that they went through. Maybe, just think about getting rid of those shirts. Make them rags to clean the floor with or something.
Yes, and even if you don't believe them, there are, of course, other victims of sexual violence, and also they will be triggered even though they had another abuser.
Yeah.
And also
exactly.
in respect for them, it will trigger them. I think you could sum up that when you're wearing symbols, make a step back and think about what the symbol means to you, but also what it can mean to other people and what message it could actually send. And if you really want to do that, if you really want to be seen as a person who doesn't give a fuck on women's rights, for example, or who doesn't give a fuck on feelings of survivors. And yes.
And that is the thing. That is a very good point, to not give a fuck, because whether or not you think you're supporting a perpetrator with your shirt or with your stream on a streaming platform, or even if you don't really think about whatever you're wearing, well, you are sending a message, and maybe you should think about that and just make a little more conscious choices. And exactly on that term, I have an even better suggestion. How about you choose the things you wear with a little more conscience and choose to wear things that are cool. Choose to wear Gojira shirt that supports the planet. When you go to a Gojira concert, get some Sea Shepherd's merch as well. Wear shirts like, you're not seeing this, but Pia is seeing me wear my very first band shirt.
Yes.
From Anchor. Thanks again so very much to the whole Anchor team for the lovely merch that they got to me. I'm also only wearing it because it's a crop top, because I don't wear band shirts, boring band shirts. It's a crop top. I love it. They also have amazing, super soft socks. So yeah, why don't you support women in metal? Why don't you support good causes, bands who are political about good and important causes?
Devil May Care from Germany.
Yeah. And just replace all those shirts. And there's also a short note about Electric Callboy decided to change their name. We think it was a good reason. I recently heard someone say it was just for marketing because they didn't want to get canceled. Even if that was the reason, that's still a good enough reason to change their name. They did. I still see people wearing the old shirts around. It's okay. I mean, sure, you don't have to burn it after they change their name, but why don't you get a new shirt at their next concert or something, and
Exactly.
and support people like that for whatever reason and motivation, they can still reflect about a change they're doing in their symbolism. So thank you so much for listening to us rant.
That was so much fun.
Hell yeah. We will be back next week. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you're listening, to tell your friends. Also subscribe on YouTube so that you can see more and more IRL interviews. And yeah, see you around.
Bye-bye.